I think a lot of the U.S. public is not aware of the fact that there are 8 U.S. citizens that are still being held hostage by a terrorist organization similar to ISIS. And the other fact is that most of the U.S. public is not aware that 45 U.S. citizens were killed in a single terrorist attack on October 7th.
Talks to release the roughly 100 Israeli hostages held by Hamas have stalled in recent weeks. There are few signs a deal could come together in the near future, as they've now been held against their will for a whole year. Hamas kidnapped about 250 people from southern Israel during the October 7th terrorist attack and slaughtered approximately 1,200 others. Dozens of Americans are included in those numbers. Many of the hostages have been held in Gaza underground with little food and water. Hamas has not permitted the Red Cross to visit the hostages. Of the roughly 100 hostages who continue to be held, 33 of them are believed to have been killed already, according to the IDF. The Department of Justice charged multiple senior Hamas leaders with the killing of more than 40 Americans in the terrorist attack. The Biden administration, along with Qatari and Egyptian governments, has continuously sought to broker a ceasefire deal to secure the release of the hostages for several months, effectively since the week-long ceasefire in November fell apart.
On the ceasefire, here's what I can tell you. More than 90% of the issues have been agreed, decided. So we're down to a handful of issues, not even a handful of issues, that are hard but fully resolvable in our judgment. Hamas is not in a position to repeat the horrific attacks of October 7th.
Israel's government has refused to agree to the terms of Hamas's demands to secure the release of hostages, choosing to prioritize its military objectives over getting the hostages home, despite the assessment, as Blinken referenced, that Hamas is no longer capable of carrying out a repeat attack. At the same time, Hamas has shown little interest in agreeing to a deal to give up the hostages, even if that means the continuation of a war pulverizing the Gaza Strip, which has already led to the deaths of more than 40,000 Palestinians and created the concern of widespread famine and disease. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said one Hamas leader, who is believed to be in hiding in tunnels underneath Gaza, is the obstacle to reaching a deal.
Mr. Sinwar remains the big obstacle here to getting a deal, and it certainly is the case that he has done nothing in the recent weeks to prove that he's willing to move this forward in a good faith way. He is the major obstacle, no question about it. And whoever that official was is right. I mean, it's tough to get him to say yes to things that he's already said he wanted. So it's very, very difficult. But as the president said the other day, everything's unrealistic until all of a sudden it's not anymore.
Hamas has kidnapped Israelis in the past, though usually soldiers, and have sought to use them as bargaining chips to extract concessions from Israel. In 2011, Israel and Hamas agreed to a deal in which Hamas released IDF soldier Gilad Shalit, who had been held by them since 2006, in exchange for the release of more than 1,000 Palestinians held in Israeli prisons. One of the Palestinians who was freed in that exchange was Sinwar, who was widely considered to be the mastermind behind last year's October 7th terrorist attack.